And one other piece that Anjanette kind of touched on was one of the examples. There was a American military person who was a Vietnam prisoner of war. And what this person would do while he was captured, while he was a POW, is he would play golf in his head.
In his head, yeah.
Right? So he would visualize himself on the golf course. He would visualize the smell of the golf course. He would visualize the green grass. He would see himself picking up the club, and he would play golf in his mind, right? And then here he is, some years later, he's released from being a prisoner of war. He's back on the golf course, and he's still playing golf at a very high level because he was able to visualize, and he was able to do so by controlling it or seeing things or by entering in that flow state in his brain, right, in his mind. So he had mind control. So I think what you're speaking about here is having control of mind such that you're able to be effective in either state. Is that what you're...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think, what a gift that is, because what a traumatic experience that could be. And he was able to define his own experience within that prisoner of war camp.
Yeah.
He was, it could go either way, and he could definitely probably still experience trauma.
Yeah.
But he was able to order. Such a traumatic experience would create what Flo in this book would describe as being chaotic, right? So it would disorder your mind. But he took control of his mind, and he introduced a scenario, or I think in this book they call them games or visualizations, in order to intentionally order your mind, which redefined his experience. So in his mind, he was free, even though his situation, he was not, he was captive. And I think that that's an excellent example in how we relate to our experience. That it was written in the book, and I know we had touched on this before, that he says, stress exists only if we experience it. It takes the most extreme objective conditions to cause it directly. And I don't think that's to diminish stressful situations. I think that we can exacerbate stress, like being in a prisoner of war prison camp or any other challenging situation. We can make it worse, or we can, it's difficult to use the word accept here, but to come to terms with our situation in a way that enables survival.
Yeah.
Right? Because you could lose your mind, but he didn't.
Yeah. Well,
in that instance.
I think, like, when you think of stress, right, I think you have a way of controlling yourself, right? And you have your way of dealing with stress. And so I was recently watching a movie, and it was in the film, this guy had to kick a field goal. But the stress of having to kick the field goal was so significant, he couldn't kick a field goal in the game. But he was able to kick the field goal in practice. Didn't miss a field goal in practice. But then in the game, because he didn't have that same stress in practice as he had in the game, he was unable to be successful, right? And until that particular person was able to start having an amount of stress equal in his practice for the game, once he was able to have that same level of stress, he was then able to get into the game and kick the field goal, right? And so stress, in my mind, is one of those things where, like, you can get more comfortable with stress. Like, I imagine a pilot, when they're taking off on an airplane or they're landing a plane, for the first 5 or 10 times, it's a lot of stress. But the 100th time, the stress of landing an airplane becomes simple because you've done it 100 times successfully, right? And you've built mechanisms within yourself in order to be able to deal with it. And so stress is one of those things where I think you build mechanisms in order to be able to control it, in order to be able to maintain it, or to get used to it, such that you're able to complete whatever task, irrespective of the stress, or irrespective of the other stimuli that's involved in your life.
I think our first recording was really stressful.
Yeah.
Now that we've done it a few times, I think it's definitely more comfortable.
Yeah.
So
And interesting, in both of the instances in our recordings and also in making the field goal, you wonder what makes the situation stressful. And I can say for myself, and even, right, as a self-consciousness. And, it would be the self-consciousness of how do I sound, or am I saying things that are stupid, or not making a field goal. It's like questioning whether you're going to make the field goal or not.
What if
It's
I miss?
thinking, what if I miss? And so and then he talks about if you are overly self-conscious, that takes you out of flow.
Hey guys, of course, we are the M3 Collective. Please don't forget to like,
Comment.
And subscribe.
By doing so, you'll receive notification when we drop new videos.